Greetings my customers. I've just got myself a new tin. Literally it's just arrived. I've been sitting waiting with all the ingredients, it's just arrived. This is a 9x13 rectangular tin, as aluminium, as recommended by Edd Kimber, because I'm going to do another one of his one tray bakes. His one tray bake book basically uses a tin or tray this size, and all the recipes in his one tray bake book have that tin. Well, not that tin, because that's my tin. Anyway, first thing you've got to do is line it with some greaseproof paper or baking paper, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, if you want to grease the pan just so that this sticks to it, that's fine, but I don't think I need to bother with that. So we're just going to put that to one side. I'll move it in a minute. But what we're going to make is some salted pistachio and rose brittle. So for that, obviously you're going to need some pistachios. We're going to add some dried rose petals, although it is called with rose, the rose petals are optional, because we're going to be putting some rose water into it, sugar, syrup and honey, butter and bicarb and a dash of water. So that's what we're going to need. You're going to need a thermometer to measure the temperature of syrup. I've already measured out my syrup, because if I measure that into a dish and then transfer it to here, you end up losing some. So I've put directly into there 225 grams of golden syrup. Actually, I've done about a half-half mix of golden syrup and honey. That's up to you. So first thing I've got to do though is do some chopped pistachios for decoration. So I've got 50 grams here, which I'm going to chop up in a second, and then I've got 200 grams in there, whole ones as it were, and they're going to go in whole. So I'm just going to clear that so you get, well, I suppose you do get a view, don't you? What we're going to do is we're now just going to chop these up. Now, because of the nature of this, you need to get everything ready. I've got all my ingredients measured out. But once you get to temperature, you're going to be pouring, and then straight away you're going to be doing your decorating. So you need everything ready. So I'm just going to chop my nuts. So that's my nuts chopped. Now, you could, I suppose, use a blender if you wanted to. The only thing you've got to watch with a blender is that if you're not careful, you'll chop it up rather fine. But also, if you do it for too long, you get a heating effect and the oils will start coming out. And if you're not careful, you'll end up with a paste, which we don't want. So, that's your nuts chopped. So I've got about 2 tablespoons of rose petals. Those 2 are going to go in at the very end when we've poured it. Okay, so now into my saucepan, I've got some caster sugar here. I've got 150 grams of that, and that's going in with that syrup. What else do I want? Sugar, syrup, butter. I've got, I think it's 122 grams of butter. He gave it for some weird reason in tablespoons, 4 tablespoons. I can't remember if I've exactly calculate right now, I can't remember. But 4 tablespoons of butter, unsalted. In that goes. So we've got our butter, we've got our sugar, we've got our syrup. And then a tablespoon of just tap water. We're putting rose water in, but we're not putting rose water in just yet. So now, what we want to do is now heat this over a medium heat, and we want to check the temperature, and we want to get it up to 149. Now, whilst that comes up to temperature, we want to just give it a little stir every now and again. It's not quite the same as just making a sugar syrup, when you normally want to avoid stirring because you'll get crystallisation around the sides. Remember, here we're mixing this in with butter. So it's just a matter of keep my eye on it, occasional stir, and keep an eye on the temperature. 149, take it off the heat. It will be going back on the heat, but we take it back off the heat, and then we'll be adding our nuts unchopped. Now it's reached almost 120. it starts foaming up, so you need a big saucepan for this because obviously you don't want it boiling over. It's also 120, so be careful splashing it. It'll burn you. Certainly don't try tasting it. So it's just now just keeping on driving off that moisture till the temperature, like I say, gets to 149. At the moment it's sort of stabilising around about 120. Just letting it creep up. It hit 149, so we put in those pistachios, give it a quick stir, and then a tablespoon of rose water. Now be careful there because obviously the water and that hot caramel don't make good friends. This immediately starts to thicken. Whoops. My spatula's just fallen apart. I think because of the heat. I think it actually might have melted the plastic a little bit. But what we're going to do now is, because this is starting to thicken up a bit, we're now just going to return it to the heat, and we want to keep on heating it again on medium until we get to 149 again, at which point removing the heat, and that's the last of the heating. So I'm just going to get myself a wooden spoon, I think. Now back up to temperature. So at this point I'm going to take about 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, no, bicarbonate soda, sorry. I'm just going to quickly mix that in, and then you can see as it mixes in, because it sort of goes a much paler colour. Okay, and it seems to lose its frothiness. It's a bit like making the honeycomb that I've made from Edd Kimber before. So we now pour this into our prepared tray, and then spread it all out, and it will come out. We're going to spread it over the entire bottom. Obviously what we're making here is a brittle, so it's not going to be very thick. Try and get it so the pistachios, some of them are bunching up a little bit. But there we go, there's that on there. Now we just take our chopped pistachios, and we'll have to lift that side up. So it's very heavy on the nuts, this. And then remember, this is meant to be a salted brittle. So in a minute I'm going to add some salt, but before I do, I'm just adding them rose petals. Like I say, they are optional. Now if you've got seafood flakes, you're using about 1/2 teaspoon of that. I haven't, I've just got some coarse sea salt here. So just a sprinkle of that, and then there you go. There is the salted pistachio and rose brittle. Now obviously at the moment you're doing brittle. Now we're just going to put this to cool down for at least a couple of hours till it's solidified and cool, at which point we can then break it all up. So here's the brittle lifted out of the dish tray, and so now what we want to do is break it up. So it's brittle, it's not going to be cut into regular sized bits, so we're going to get the old rolling pin and we're just going to bash it and attempt to break it into pieces. Now I've got a tin here to collect the bits in. Okay, although it's a bit small, isn't it? Oh, where'd that go? There it is. It's salty. Well, that bit was. Still quite sticky. And obviously very nutty. I think that bit had a bit of rose petal, which is a little bit chewy. Try this bigger chunk here. Nice and salty, nice and sweet. When I say nice and salty, it complements that sweetness. It's not just all salt. It's more like a hardish toffee than a, you know, like a jawbreaker, if you like. And to be honest, I think, although I was hitting it with the rolling pin, I think it's actually brittle enough. You can just do it like this by hand. So, there we go. Courtesy of Edd Kimber, Boy Who Bakes, our salted pistachio and rose brittle. Keep it in a nice airtight tin. He says it should last you some weeks. It bloody won't last weeks, I can tell you that for now.